What's up, everybody, and welcome to the live stream. Surprise, surprise, I didn't have a lot of information about today's stream, but you know that I stream almost every single Friday unless something is crazy that's going on. My name's Jesse Showalter. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the stream. We got people jumping in from all over the interwebs. We are on Behance. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We also got something lodged in the throat. That's just what's happening on this fine Friday morning. But we got people like Marcus and Abik and Arthur and the Lucid Cannibal, Jennifer, Roger, Rocco, everybody in the house. What's up, you guys? Thanks for being here in the stream. Today is simple. It's question and answer time, portfolio review time. And if you want to get your portfolio reviewed, you got to do two things. Number one, just make sure you like, subscribe, hit the little bell notification icon on this YouTube channel or wherever you're watching this at. That way, the internet gods know that this is good. You like this content. Other people would like it as well. But number two, you got to head over and sign up for the Hey Creative Discord server. It's a free Discord server. We got over, I think we're coming on like 1,000 members in this free Discord server. And inside of this Discord server, you should be able to go down to feedback, portfolio reviews, project reviews, post your projects or your portfolios there for us to take a look at. And that's where we're going to be doing the thing. That's where we're going to be doing the magic. But hello to Hassan and Abik and Kaveen. Oh, maybe I said it right. Maybe I said it wrong. I'm not really sure. What's everyone doing on this fine Friday? Are you working today? Are you getting ready for the weekend? If you're in the US, maybe you're preparing for Thanksgiving or any other sort of fun holidays or time off. I hope that you are relaxed, doing cool stuff, fun projects, and having fun. A couple of cool announcements throughout this live stream. I'll be mentioning, ooh, somebody said day off. Good for you, day off. I'll be mentioning that following Thanksgiving here in the US on the 26th of November, that's 1 week from today, everybody, I'll be hosting my 3-hour interactive workshop about designing and prototyping mobile applications. That's right, 3 hours workshopping with me. We're going to be covering everything from Figma fundamentals, user flow diagrams, wireframing, UI design, UX design. We're going to be going into animation, mobile components and pattern libraries, design systems, handoff, delivery techniques, all that stuff. And I would love for you to sign up and be a part of it. Because in this 3-hour workshop, you're going to be able to work along with me in projects. You're going to have takeaway files with you, but you'll also be able to ask me questions. At the end, you might even get spotlighted. We'll bring you up on stage. We'll talk about your work. I'll give you live feedback, you and me, side by side. It's going to be a lot of fun. So all you got to do is go to learn.jesseshowalter.com/workshop. Sign up for that. Seats are limited. We're actually running out. I was running an early bird special, but the early bird special has gone. But tickets are also running out because we only have limited seating for 100 and seats are almost gone. So we got a couple more seats left. Make sure you sign up for that. You're going to have a ton of fun, I promise you. Okay, with that being said, hey, let's look at some work. And then throughout this, if you have a question at any time, make sure you just ask a question because we'll be having designated question and answer times throughout. And I would love to hang out. But let's jump over to our first piece of work, our first portfolio or work to review. And this one is coming from Azog Ibrahim. Let's see, this is an illustration pack landing page. Cool concept. If this is concept work, maybe it's client work, I don't know. But if it is, I would say that's a great idea for a piece of concept work is like an illustration pack, a resource, a wireframing kit, create a landing page for an item like that. Pretty cool. I like it a lot. It's got a cool style. Black and white. Let's just dig in, get a little bit more in depth with this thing. I'm going to go to the other side here so we can see the content writing here. It's fairly minimal, right? It's fairly simple. And I like this inverted black and white, then white to black, right? From here over to this side. It's kind of interesting. I'm imagining, and when I'm thinking with my front end web development kind of like brain thinking cap on, I'm thinking this is going to have to be developed in a very specific way, which is what we call 100% viewport height, the VH or VW CSS property that allows it to say, hey, everything has to fit within the viewport. Because if we're looking at this on a smaller screen, do we get this bottom left-hand anchored text, right? That's my concern, is the text that describes what you're currently looking at, is it in the most usable place? You know, eye tracking studies, software, and even if you read like a very old school but still very relevant book called Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug, we'll talk about basic eye tracking patterns, right? And we track like in kind of a Z pattern. We track like from the left-hand side to the right-hand. I might be doing this opposite on the screen, but from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, and then we scan down in a Z-like pattern. So going back to our information, you can see we're kind of scanning, you know, brand confirmation. Okay, this is what I was looking for possibly. We scan across, right? Which makes us ask really good questions about navigation systems, right? Which is, are we using navigation, like a navigation that makes sense? Do the actual words themselves, are they too generic, right? Are they too custom that I don't know what I'm looking at? Home, about, contact, support. If I'm at an illustration pack, I might want to see things that are a little bit more relevant to my needs as a user, like pricing, subscription, illustration styles. I don't know, things that really resonate. So this becomes an information architecture game where I say, how do I confirm the brand as quickly as I can, or the product? Then how do I confirm the elements of that product as quickly as possible? Now, as we scan across, I see this big, beautiful illustration, but I have to go really far down. This is why you constantly see that standard layout of, you know, logo, and then navigation, and then you usually have some sort of imagery, but then the call to action and the main kind of header and subheadline and everything are usually up here a little bit more because it's within that Z-formed reading pattern. Okay, so I would say this is all we have to work off of. I'd say it's good. I'd say it feels a little bit confusing, right? So it's an Indian doodle illustration pack. As far as the copywriting goes, that's good. You can download it for different. See, this is a huge value proposition that this doodle pack is available in all of these different softwares. Because when we think of doodle packs, I immediately think, are these PNGs? Are they SVGs? Do you have a plugin available? What are we doing here, right? So I might just really lift this whole thing up. And then the one thing I'll just speak, and now we're talking like layout wise about this piece of work is, you know, the rule of 2/3 is always a good thing, right? Half and half is kind of interesting. Now, this isn't exactly half, but it's definitely not 2/3. I think you would have done better to make this white area 2/3, right? Shrunk down your navigation, figured that out a little bit, and then had the 1/3 of it be the illustration portion with maybe a little bit of overlap for interest, right? So half and half is kind of okay. 2/3 is really good because it's the rule of thirds in photography and art and design. That's kind of built and backed on the golden ratio. But this kind of weird in between, it feels a little random for me. That's all I'm saying. But all in all, I think it's really, really nice. And because of that, I'm going to give it some love. We're going to like that. Thank you, Azog Ibrahim, for submitting that. Okay. Let's go over to MD Shaheed Hassan. This is an IT solution website. Header exploration V2. Okay, real quick, one thing. When you put things inside a Dribbble, inside a Behance on your portfolio, watch that title, y'all. You know, like V2? I don't know. I would just say exploration, like IT website exploration. That's just as far as giving me an idea of what I'm looking at. That's all I really want to see, okay? It's cool. It's nice. I like the colors. It's not a color palette you see a whole lot of. This is a little bit more what I was talking about, right? Technician, brand confirmation across to the right. We see the navigation does it all. Home, about us, services. Here's a question for the audience today. What's your take on putting the word home inside of the navigation? Do we put home inside of the navigation, or is it standard knowledge now that the logo itself is a link to the home page? What do we think? I tell you what, let's discuss in the chat a little bit, shall we? And then I'll tell you what I think, and we'll come back to it. But that's an interesting topic that we hear a lot, all right? Okay, so yeah, and we got this nice illustration. Fun style, right? You have kind of like an illustrated, kind of drawn style. And then call to action, really, really clear. You're using color well, I'd say here. You're reserving it for the most important things. Main call to actions, contact, get in touch. Although you're using it here for optimized IT systems, this feels like a button. Is it a button? I'm not really sure. If it's a button, it looks like a button. If it's not, we have a problem here, okay? Jerovan says, shout out from the Philippines as he watches on Facebook. What's up? What's up? How's it going? Logo is home, the Lucid Cannibal says. Okay, interesting. Keep voting. We're voting on whether, if you're just stopping by, whether or not we should have a home navigation item in the nav, or if it's standard now for everybody to know that you can tap on the logo to go home. All right, we'll talk about it. All right. Okay, let's go to, is this a different version? What's different about this version? Oh, this is just a longer version. I like this layout. I'll tell you one thing though. It's a whole lot of space for these big swipes of color. I'm being real nitpicky now because this is actually nice work. So now when you get this much nitpicky from me, it's because I like what you're doing and I'm trying to bring value in the micro ways, okay? But macro, you've done a great job, right? Colors used well, iconography clean, fun style, just good layout. All that's really solid, really smooth here. But does this big swath of color need to be that big? It's causing giant white space kind of areas here that I'd rather, that just feels like there needs to be more balance. And maybe you did this for balance because you wanted this to be kind of close to the top. I don't know. One thing I would say is a consistent you need to fix, I think, is if these aren't buttons, they got to go, my friend. They got to go, okay? But all in all, really, really nice. Typography is decent. I wouldn't mind like maybe just tucking that up, just closing the gap here a little bit between these headlines, these subheadlines and this body copy. It seems like you threw something maybe in an auto layout and you let it ride. We gotta have a little bit more relationship between things. Otherwise they start to not make sense. Does that make sense? Okay. Proximity, basic design rule 101. Really nice. Love this work by MD Shaheed. Gonna give it some love. And then we're gonna go to question and answer time. I was just taking a sip of my Legend spicy nootropic ginger drink, which if you join the Hey Creative Discord server this month, the challenge is actually sponsored by Legend. So it's to redesign a checkout experience with a few interactions. And if you're interested in that, all you got to do, man, I got like something really stuck in my throat. All you got to do is go to the Hey Creative Discord server to participate. It's free to participate. And we actually have winners this week, which is super fun. Okay, so let me see, where is it? Challenge, the challenges, boom, right here. All the details and information about the challenge. The first place winner gets a 1 year of Adobe Creative Cloud as well as a case of Legend. Second and third each get a case of Legend. There's a little video for you to watch. There's a starting Figma file and a bunch of starting resources provided by Legend. Pretty cool, pretty fun. But this challenge is sponsored by Adobe and Legend. Thank you to them for being the sponsors of this challenge. Super duper fun. All right. Question and answer time. Let's get back to this whole idea of, does the navigation need to include the word home? All right. Rocco says it might not hurt to have it in the nav just in case for accessibility or for the less tech savvy. Okay. Maybe some more noob people, Shafat says, they don't know that the logo will bring them home. I'm going to take a stance on this one. I don't know how I could say, well, either way, I'm going to take a stance. I'd say at this point, we don't need to put home in the navigation. I don't think we do. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it. I don't think you do. I think I think my grandma now knows that she can click on the logo to go home. And if my grandma, who's like 82 years old, if she knows how to do it, I bet you most people know how to do it. So I'd just say throughout time, standards start to form, right? Defaults start to form, and people start to understand those. This is a similar thing. Do we also still have an above the fold when it comes to our landing pages? Kind of. Yes, maybe. No. That's another thing to discuss. Maybe we'll discuss that at another time. But let me know if you have any questions. Put them in the chat about anything. We could talk about anything you want. T20's Grunt said, only people 60 or over ask for it. But if they're paying the client, I'll put it there if you want it in the end. But I will challenge them. I like that. Because you know what T20's Grunt just pointed out? That it's really about demographics, right? It's really about understanding your user. And so if you are creating a site that you know is going to be for the 60 plus crowd, maybe then that is a time for you to put the word home in the navigation, a link in the navigation that leads you home, possibly, right? But it's a good reminder to know your demographics, your sociographics, to do your market research on what you're designing and who you're designing it for. Abik has a question. He says, I'm job hunting right now for a UI UX designer role, but I'm struggling with salary negotiations. Can you please give me some tips? Okay. I like this question. Salary negotiation tips. Okay. Off the top of my head, here's what comes to mind when we talk about salary negotiation. Okay. First off, know your value. Before you walk into that meeting, know your value. Have done your research and understand what you're worth, and you have to be realistic, right? What kind of work are you currently doing? Are you doing junior level work? Are you doing senior level work? Are you doing creative art director level work? Okay, then if you're doing junior level work, maybe you just came out of a boot camp, you've been self-learning, you've watched a bunch of my YouTube videos, you know how to use Figma, you can design something kind of decent. It got itself on a live stream. And Jesse told you need to fix your proximity and some basic design principles. And you're like, okay. Then don't go into a meeting asking for a $180,000 salary. That doesn't make sense, right? And how do you know what doesn't make sense? Well, you're going to have to do a little bit of research, a little bit of comparison shopping. What are other people making? What are other people that are doing work similar to you? What are they currently making in the freelance realm, in the in-house realm, at the agency or at the startup? Look at Glassdoor, look at a bunch of sites and know what type of experience level and performance can you output? What does that deserve? I would say another thing I have is a lot of people undervalue themselves. And I would just ask you to do the McDonald's test, okay? If you can't make more than somebody that is working at McDonald's as a designer, even a junior level position, you need to make more than somebody at McDonald's in your area. You know why? Because you have a specialty skill. Right? You shouldn't be ashamed of that. You should be proud of that. Of course, we're all learning and growing. We can all get better. I can get better. I can grow. But at the end of the day, if I can't make more than somebody who's making minimum wage, we have a serious problem. Okay? So I would do the McDonald's test. Okay? When it comes to negotiation, the actual negotiation, I would let them float the number first. Okay? And I would not be afraid to talk about money. But I would want to know what their range or of expectation is that they're hoping to offer for this position. Okay, so I would field it from them first. I would not necessarily need to finish that conversation at the table, so to speak. Okay, so I get a number floated towards you. Tell them you'll think about that number and get back to them, okay? But like, for instance, if I was a junior designer right now, just coming out of a boot camp or coming out of college or self-learned, feeling pretty good, I got a portfolio, and I walk into a meeting and they say, we're looking for about $30,000 to $40,000, a year for this position, I'm going to go, I've already done my research. I know that junior designers are probably making more about 45 to 55, right? At least in that area. It's above the McDonald's test in my area. So I think that's about right, so that's not really going to work for me. So I might possibly initially float that back and say, hey, I think junior designers in this area at this time with my skill level are making more around this number. And if that's out of the realm of possibility, I don't want to waste any more of your time. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your consideration. Okay. I've had people come to me recently, offer me positions. I'm not looking for positions, but some people are will lowball you to death. It doesn't matter if you're junior or senior, they'll try to lowball you. I think you can take probably take a page out of Chris Doe's book, which is if we're seeking to establish our value and want to know our value and get what we're worth, then if somebody is looking for a bargain, then that might not be the place for you to work. Keep that in mind also, right? So if somebody says, hey, what we're really hoping for is to get a junior designer who knows UI and UX, and here's what they always say, UI and UX, video editing, animation, logo design, front-end development, we want to pay that person $30,000. You could either do one of two things, tell them they're out of their minds and they'll never find this design unicorn for what they're paying, or you might just say, you can ask them a question, right? Which is, what is the amount that you'll spend on this person the mark of success for hiring this person? If they say, well, no, what we really want is somebody to do amazing work, then you can say, well, it seems like to me, the budget you have to hire this person that you're looking for does not match your expectations of skill level and effectiveness, right? So I'd say I'd be all for you. If you're looking for a budget hire, I'm not going to be that budget hire. But if you're looking for a valuable hire, I will be that valuable hire, right? It may be a little bit outside of your budget or what you expected, but I'd like to bring you value, not bring you budget, right? Okay, so maybe that's a way. Maybe that's too forward. I don't know. I'm just spitballing at these questions that I see in the chat, but that is a great question, okay? Let me see. Ready Unboxing says, I've created a new logo for a very popular restaurant, and it's a pretty cool logo. I want to try to offer them to buy my logo, but I need to know do I need to copyright it before offering it to them? First off, Ready Unboxing, it's a little bit of a dangerous practice you're doing, which is doing work for people who don't know they want it, think they want it, or have asked you because they want it. It's a little bit dangerous. I would challenge you and say, don't go making stuff and then bring it to people and going, look, I made you something that's really cool looking, right? Because at the end of the day, they don't need cool looking. They need somebody to help them diagnose their business and make them more money. Logos make businesses money, right? I think the lady who designed the Nike swoosh, I think she got paid something like $250, right? That swoosh has made Nike billions of dollars. If somebody said, hey, we need somebody to redesign the Nike logo, you better believe that they're not going to get away with a $250 payment anymore because they're paying for value to help make them more money. Take Facebook, for instance. Facebook had a logo that was made early on in their career. It got refined a little bit, but now that Facebook is swapping and switching to the new Meta, right, that they're going to be, who made their logo for them? Guarantee you it wasn't Zuck in his college dorm or a friend of his putting a big F on a blue tile. No, it's going to be very expensive process, but it's because that logo makes them money. Okay. So first things first, how do you sell something to somebody that they don't think they want anything? You're probably not going to. In my opinion, in my experience, walking up to somebody and going, I made this really cool thing. Do you want to buy it from me? You're not going to get the response that you want, but you might have gotten the response if you went to them, told them how much you love their business, tell them that you're a patron of their business and that you think you could help them increase traffic, revenue, whatever it leads into their business. If you could help them do that, then you would love to help them diagnose how to do that. Now you're charging them for your knowledge, for your strategy, not just a piece of artwork or design, right? There are hundreds of thousands of people on Dribbble that make beautiful work. What's to stop them from going, you're right, we do need somebody. I'm just going to hire somebody else for cheaper than you, or them paying you a bargain deal, right? So do you need to copyright it? No, I don't think you need to copyright it. I think you need to diagnose before you fix. I think you need to solve the problem before you make the solution. And you haven't solved the problem yet, so I wouldn't go selling it to them yet. That's my opinion. It's a topsy-turvy way of doing business, in my opinion. Like I said, Ready Unboxing, the way to sell a logo is to expose the business to the problem that they're having, let them know that you're capable of diagnosing and getting them to a solution, right? But you have to be an asker of questions. You have to be a diagnoser of problems, right? If you went to a doctor because you had a cough or like something going wrong with your body, and the doctor walked in and in 2 seconds went, I have medications for you. I walked in with here. And you're like, but you haven't even told me to open my mouth and go, you haven't even checked me or diagnosed me. You'd be like, this doctor's sketchy. And that's what they might think of you unless you diagnose first, right? You got to build that trust first, okay? All right. Billy B says, thank you for all that you were doing and my content. Thank you. I'm a junior UX designer looking for jobs. Do you recommend casting out my net and applying wherever possible? Absolutely, Billy B. I think that most people suffer from waiting until they feel ready. And a lot of times because of imposter syndrome, you may never feel ready. So I'd say start applying before you feel ready. Cast the net out, cast it wide, see what you can get. Because here's the truth. The only two things that can happen from applying for jobs is you don't get the job, right? Or you get the job. When you get the job, great, you got the job. If you don't get the job, you learn how to get the job later. Does that make sense? Okay. So you either win or you learn. There's two options in life when it comes to this. So applying, getting turned down, ask why. right? Is there something I could do in the future with other jobs or with you to improve my ability to work here? They might say, yes, your portfolio is not all it needs to be. We're looking for somebody with some more experience. We're looking for somebody who's done X, Y, and Z. You'll learn. And don't be salty. Take it in, right? Take it all in and figure out how to improve, how to grow. You either win or you learn. That's it. All right. So with that being said, let's get back. Let's do some more learning here with other people's work. All right. This is from Douglas Medeiros. This looks like an amazing video game project, a Vava project. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a video game that I'm not aware of. Okay. But this looks like a mobile app. Maybe it's like with this app, you can do this and more. Want to know your results with agents. Okay. So like a gaming stats app, possibly. I like the presentation. It's kind of fun. The color is maybe kind of bonkers, like the pink on pink on pink on pink is maybe a little too much pink. I might have chilled that out and gone for a tone back here, or maybe white. So you'd let your screens that are pink kind of pop, right? This pops in pink. See how this is all kind of blending. Now we're just talking about presentation right now, okay? See how it's all just blending a little bit. You might want to do a darker tone of this or a lighter tone of this so that these can pop a little bit more. But at the same time, I would say, it's rough. Doing pink on pink on pink is rough. So my suggestion is to dial back color, right? Learn how to use color in a more mature and maybe subdued way, because I think that this interface could have been better if it introduced some more neutrals. It's like you're doing a dark theme, but you're not doing a dark theme. You're doing a color theme. I'm going to tell you something. The reason you never hear the term color theme and instead of light theme or dark theme is because it's not a thing. Because it's rough on the eyes. It's hard to digest this information. Look, you can even see the glow of all of this pink coming off the screen onto my face. It's so much pink. It's a lot of pink, okay? I love you. I love you with all my heart. But it's like Pepto-Bismol kind of like vomited on this case study a little bit. I say that with all the love I have. The work is good. The layout's there. The presentation, I think you're doing a good job at presentation. But the use of color is immature, I would say, at best. Okay, so this is one of those things where we learn and we say, color is one of those things I need to work on. Maturity, design IQ is one of those things I need to progress and work on. But really, hey, great work, great attempt. I appreciate your hard work on the project. Let's do one more. Let's check it out. This is Yazin Patel. This is a mobile app design. My shoes. Let's look at what do we got here. We got a little video. Okay. I'm watching. It says mobile, but doesn't look mobile. Okay, now we're mobile. I see. Okay. We have contrast issues. Definitely have contrast issues. We're having way too much fun with animation, in my opinion. Just a little too much fun with animation. We need to focus less on, like sliding things around and animating things, and a little bit more on contrast, legibility. Okay. We're going to go back. We're going to diagnose this. This is interesting. This is an interesting case study for us all to take in. You're doing some mesh gradients. You're trying to be trendy. But my problem is not with the trendiness. It's with the basics. Okay. So you're doing some advanced things. You're trying to advance things, but you're not doing the basics, I think, in a firm foundational way. So let's skip this. Let's go into the case study. I like the layout. A lot of color here as well, but it's more like on brand. And then when we get to the actual case study, see how we've mellowed it out a little bit. Okay, let's zoom in here a little bit. Let's get into this. Let's get back down. So we were talking about contrast issues, okay? This is a contrast issue, okay? This button that you can see right through it, okay? It looks more like a hole in the floor, and it's hard for me to read login because of the imagery behind it. You're trying to do this dark bottom anchored kind of like gradient thing, but it's not really working. These are bad contrast on the logos or on the icons, bad contrast on the text, too thin, right? Button doesn't have enough contrast, okay? Okay, so that's one thing. Your form fields are a little bit clunky, just a little tiny bit clunky. Just spacing, padding, it just needs to be like just worked around a little bit. You're doing some trendy things like glass effects and things like that, but spacing wise, padding wise, like look, legibility wise, again, bad proximity, bad spacing between subheadline and body copy. Those things are standard. We got to work those things out, right? Okay, again, you're doing the trendy things, right? Vertical navigations, but they're butting right up against other navigations. The user experience of this is maybe not the greatest, I would say. Also, you have this like cool actual vibe up here, right? Where it's like black and red. Could be really cool. Then you introduce these mesh gradients that have nothing to do with the color palette. Okay, maybe they're unique to the shoe. They're not. Everyone has these same kind of purple, blue, yellow gradients and like mesh gradients and color palettes. Okay. But then down here, you're back to the red and the black, but then you introduce this really unpleasant gray with a really bad drop shadow. So you have contrast issues when you have to use really ugly kind of like drop shadows like this to separate elements like certain areas from other areas. So it's a good indicator. Also, does everything look a little squished or warped to you? Okay, just a little bit maybe, okay? So again, I love the attempt, right? But when we have the opportunity, this is a piece of concept work. Let me just jump in real quick. When we have the opportunity to like and subscribe to the channel, you should definitely do that. No, I'm just kidding. When you have the opportunity to do concept work, you're in control of the colors. You're in control of the layout. You don't have to take demands or take like critique from a client and do something you don't like, right? So in this instance, you had every opportunity to take control of these cards and how you use color. So to me, this card could have been like a really nice stealth black kind of thing with the shoe popping off of it, really rad. Or you could have brought in some of the colors of the shoe to make the whole thing feel succinct, the whole thing feel consistent. But you chose, I think you saw probably somebody do mesh gradients in these colorful ways and you just dropped it in, right? And this is like building a Lego castle and then seeing somebody else playing with Play-Doh and grabbing it and jamming it onto your Lego tower, right? These are two separate things. You got to stay in the vibe and in the direction you're going. And that's a maturity thing. So when I see this, I go, good work. I see what you're doing. Definitely more on the junior side. And if I was hiring and I was looking for a junior designer, I'd go, I think you need to learn a little bit more about some of the basics, right? About color, typography, basic user experience principles, legibility, readability, memorability, right? Like all of those things. So, but I do appreciate the work. I think you did a great job. You can learn about all of this stuff and more if you join me next week, 1 week from today, in my designing and prototyping mobile apps workshop. It's a 3-hour workshop. I think you should be there. Tickets are almost sold out. I got a couple left. Jump in there, okay? It's worth it. It's like $70. It's like, just don't drink Starbucks like this month, and you'll have enough to pay for the workshop, and you'll get 3 hours hands-on, question asking, work with me, downloads, PDFs, Figma files, takeaways, like feature on stage stuff, games, prizes. Oh, it's going to be a ton of fun. So consider joining me there. Okay. All right. These are great questions, great pieces of work we're seeing. I think it's time for another question and answer time. That's right. Let's do it. All right. Just took a quick sip, ready to go. Abik says, how do you give a quick project walkthrough in an interview? I like also, you said this, and then Excellence Adigan, basically, I think he was answering your question because it's really good. Diagnose, solve, treat, right? That's a great formula for selling, right? For selling your creative services. It's also a great way of giving a quick walkthrough of a project inside of an interview. Here's the problem, right? So you set your problem statement. Here's how we went about solving it. Here's the solution, right? Diagnose, solve, treat, right? So, hey, we saw the problem. We realized what the problem was. We came up with a solution. We implemented the solution. You just have a nice, clear, this is what we call process, right? You apply process to anything and you do it over and over in a consistent way and you become really good at it. So you want to get good at talking about your work, come up with this process, right? And then practice the process. Walk through it. Interview yourself, film yourself, talking about the process as you walk through an individual case study. Don't get stumbled, right? It's like you get to present right now. So walk people through stuff with confidence and say, I was really excited about this. We solved it in this way. Here's the results we saw. If it's concept work, then I don't feel bad about explaining how I believe the effects of this could be X, Y, and Z. Don't feel bad about that. Don't feel ashamed of concept work. Concept work is great. T20's Grunt did a $5 super chat. Thank you, T20's Grunt, for the super chat. I rarely get them, but when I get them, my heart, it just melts. It gets warm and fuzzy on the inside. I appreciate that. All right. Let's see. I'm a new company, D3Vix says, and I'm looking for a digital graphic designer to hire. Where do I look for someone good? I'll tell you where's a good place to look. Inside of the Hey Creative Discord server, we might have 1,000 creatives, and we might have a jobs section, freelancing, jobs, clients, interviewing, all that stuff here. So you might want to jump in there, post your work first. Now, after you go to the Hey Creative Discord server, because that's like where it's at, then you might want to post your work on Dribbble or Behance. Also good places to post your work, good places to find work, great marketplaces. I would not, if I was a new company, and I've experienced this personally, I would not go and hire on Fiverr, right? Because again, then you're bargain hunting. I'm looking for somebody quality. So if you're hiring creatives out there, hire quality. Don't hire for the budget, okay? Yeah, if you can, as much as possible, all right? If you don't know what that's going to cost you, if you're like, well, what should a good digital graphic designer or web designer cost me for the year? You need to do a little comparison and start looking at the type of value you're actually finding. Don't have crazy expectations. Don't be that guy. Don't be that person. That's all I'm saying if you're hiring. Okay. Let's see. The Lucid Cannibal says, can you name some major tactics to improve conversion on website? Yes, I can. Are you ready? Content. Number one, content is king. People, when we talk to creatives and designers, we go, how do we improve this? All of us go, how do I make it look better? But at the end of the day, how do you communicate what's actually needed, what the user is actually looking for? So I would say content. That's one very easy way to convert people better. Number two, clarity. Clarity of content, clarity of topic, clarity of subject matter that's there on the website. Make sure that things are very clear. Don't be ambiguous. Don't be clever when you don't need to be clever. Be clear always. Content. Clarity, okay? Those are big ones. And then lastly, clicks. Oh, I just came up with 3 C's. I didn't mean to come up with 3 C's, but I did. Content, clarity, and clicks. How many clicks or taps does it take for somebody to get from A to Z? Can you simplify it? Can you make it easier? Can you make it a better experience? If I'm trying to check out on your website and I have to click and then click again and then, go to the cart, confirm it's in my cart, and then go to the checkout, confirm that, oh gosh, it's so tiring. Is there a way to get me to the cart quicker? Is there a way to bypass all the shenanigans? Convert me with content, clarity, and clicks. Those are a few topics or a few little solutions there for you. Okay. Can you I can't recommend any boot camps. I'm sorry. I personally haven't been through any boot camps, but I may have some courses coming out that you may be interested in. So stick around for those. Sign up for my newsletter so you can find out and get discounts and pre-sale on that. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Anybody got any other questions? R. Tomas has heard that gulp on the mic. Sorry. How does designing for yourself differ from designing for a company? Requirements, guidelines, details, deadlines. All of those things differ. When you're designing for yourself, you tend to give yourself a lot of freedom. And we're the worst clients ever. You know how we're the worst clients ever to ourselves? You know how hard it is to redesign your own portfolio? It's the hardest project you will ever do because you are your own client and you don't set deadlines and you don't set expectations well. And it's just not a good experience. So if you want to have good clients, you set expectations, deadlines, like requirements, like all those things matter, right? What can we do and what can't we do? So when you design for yourself, a lot of times you don't put those rigid kind of guidelines in place. And that can be really, really difficult. Here's the hardest thing somebody could ever say to you. Design me something. Well, what do you want me to design you? Surprise me. I'm sure it'll be wonderful. That's a red flag. That's a no-no, okay? Somebody who comes to me and says, I'm looking for a website, single landing page, mobile friendly, does these 3 things. I go, you know what you want. I can work with you. You're giving me guidelines, structure to work within, and now I can satisfy the needs of the client. Okay, so we're bad clients to ourselves a lot of times. All right, okay. Hattie says, it really is the hardest thing ever, isn't it? It's just so difficult. Okay. All right, that's good. Let's get back to some work. Let's review some work. We've got some new mentions. Oh, that's in my champion chat. And if you are one of my design champions, if you don't know what that is, you can sign up and become a member. learn.jesseshowalter.com/members club there. Hit members, and you can find out becoming a design champ. We do live video hangouts every month. We do, they get all sorts of like access to design resources and assets and early kind of behind the scenes stuff. So consider becoming a member and you can get your way into these special channels of champion chat, champion hangouts. All right. But let's go down to portfolio reviews and see, do we get, let's do project reviews. We didn't do any project. Here's one from Chatanya. Let's look at that one. Here's one from Yazin. And here's one from a name that I can't pronounce, but there's no link, so I won't click on it. And this one's from Harish. Let's do this one. All right, we're going, we just got a whole slew of projects here from Chatanya. You are a student in India doing some design work. Love it. I'm going to click on this because it looks like something I might want to take a look at. Find your home. Looks like a home rent service landing page, okay? I like it. I'm going to do the scroll. I'm going to come back down. Color's really nice. Everything. Ooh, okay, I'm gonna dig in. I gotta sink my teeth into this because this is nice. Okay, here's the one thing I would critique on this first kind of like homepage area. Number one, do you need a hamburger menu up here? Is it really necessary, or could we have a full navigation? Okay, that's the thing. Number two, this is cartoonishly large. Okay, find your home. Maybe this works. Maybe this is the vibe. But again, content clarity, right? Find my home. Okay, well then I'd need buy, sell, and rent to maybe get popped up. I need sort of like a small explainer. This is why you see that age-old formula of headline and subheadline or copy that kind of explains what I'm doing, right? So, this is content writing, copywriting, but it is beautiful. I love the mix of the organic shapes. The colors you're choosing are beautiful. Everything just seems a little large. I wish I could reach right up here and grab this thing and just shrink it down like 60 pixels and shrink this down and put a little subheadline there. Also, I'd love it if this is a search bar and maybe search is like very vital to this project, which I'd assume it is. I'd love this to be higher up and integrated, but you'd have to shrink everything down to get that search bar up there. You know what I'm saying? I just did actually an entire live stream series, like 5 or 6 episodes on building a job site board, like a Fiverr type thing. And we actually did like search integrated into it. So maybe you go back and watch that and see how I did my search bar. It's not the end all be all. It's not what I'm saying, but it is an example of the way I would maybe think it through. The usage of kind of like, fun little like ancillary like design elements like your organic shapes are nicely chosen. They're nicely used. I like the custom shapes. I'm not usually a fan of kind of funky shapes. I usually like things a little bit more clear, cut, and simple, but I could see why you're doing it. I don't hate it. I do love, though, the use of like iconography. It's really consistent, pretty consistent. Good use of patterns, of like common patterns, right? Like a compartmentalized or segmented control, we'd call it in mobile, but in here you call it more of a tabbed system or tab structure to kind of click back and forth. Your cards are nice. They could use a little bit of improvement, probably not much. I'd go full width on them. Maybe this is your style, but there's something about the full width. We have a little bit of a contrast issue like right up here where it's hard to see. Right, so by expanding the card or the imagery all the way to the top, we solve the contrast issue on the bottom. Your drop shadow is doing the work down here, or excuse me, contrast on the top. Your drop shadow is doing the contrast work on the bottom, which is nice, and it's not overly done. I don't think it's nice. You have a lot of controls, a lot of information. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'd say assess whether or not you need this much control on each of these cards. Maybe you do. Maybe you do need to be able to like click and see multiple photos on this. Maybe you want people to kind of make up their mind. That becomes an information architecture and UX question, right? How much information is the right amount of information to provide somebody before it becomes cognitive overload, right? Cognitive overload is me looking at these 4 cards and going, there's too much to click on, versus I like the look of this 1-bedroom house, this 1,200 square foot. I will click on it and get in depth. So that becomes a bit of a question. And I would do that probably, I would simplify these a little bit and then I would solve it with testing. I would err on the simple side. This is my favorite part so far. The colors, gorgeous shapes, colors, typography, layout, the shapes that the images are in, the art direction, usage of the images. Very nice. This whole section is like, I love it. I love it. The button is the right size. The call to action colors are great. See, now we're popping a little bit and I dig it. Hand-drawn elements, very trendy, very cool right now. I've got to tell you, I hate this little A logo thing that's happening in there, but that's just me, personal thing. I like the use. This is not a pure white. This is a neutral color. I like your palette. And I like the way that you're using your palette. It's very smooth. Yes. There's a consistency throughout this whole thing. Here's what's interesting is like, I'm going to scroll fast, watch. You may not necessarily like something at the top, but the longer you look at it in a consistent tone, the more you start to like it, right? Because at the top, I'm comparing this to other things that I see. Right? The more that I scroll through the page, I'm starting to compare this design to itself and it starts to make sense. The context kicks in and now I've got you in this zone that says, if everything matches, that's fine. If this entire site doesn't match what's on the outside world or other websites, that's fine. But if I get into the site and everything is all messed up and all over the place and inconsistent, that's where the true problem lies. Okay, it's not being consistent in your own design. Doesn't matter if it looks different from other people's. Does it look the same across the board? And this does. Love it. Lots of little things that I'm nitpicking at, but really at the end of the day, love it, love it, love it. Forms look like forms. Buttons look like buttons. Colors used beautifully. I like it. I wish I could see some more about that one, and we definitely need to go and appreciate it. Love it. Let's do another one. This is Yazin Patel, my wallet project. Okay, payments for all businesses. We get a little bit of video action in here. Okay, what are we doing? We got a hover button. Oh, was not ready. Was not ready for all this animation. Okay, drop shadow is too heavy. Yep. Blank spaces. I don't know what's going wrong with them. They seemed wrong. It seemed like something was broken. Gray, bad contrast with the text on it. Color, fun. Animations, cool. Also, these illustrations, fun, cool, awesome. Love that. But let's go back through and watch that again and pause at the areas of concern. Number one, contrast. This panel, this dark panel. Why is this dark panel there? Why am I not just looking at a website? Why am I looking at a website with this weird kind of overlay pop-up? That's the feeling that I have there. Everything feels kind of trapped, and it didn't need to be. This gray back here, really a bad color. Very few hard and fast rules in web design, like do this, don't do this. Here's a don't do this. Ready? Don't make your website gray like a wireframe. Oh, it's just not attractive. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head where a really kind of mid-neutral gray as the background came off well. I just can't think of one. Dark, light, color, make it pop, gray, blah. It all just kind of blah. It blahs. Okay. So, also see the animations is too insane. You're doing everything inside of this, everything inside encapsulated in this thing. Do we get more explanation of what this thing is? No, it's like you were designing a mobile app in a website. Like every screen needed to link to another thing when there's more page down below. Just put the sections down below. That's what we do, you know? Okay. So, that's good. I mean, I like what you're doing, but the contrast is bad. And this is just really, this comes back around to accepted and standardized patterns. Okay. What do I mean when I say design pattern? It's a pattern of behavior or pattern of creativity that's used, whether it's layout, typography, color, whatever. It's a pattern we see over and over, right? Patterns are good. Patterns help people feel safe, secure. They understand things more when they see the way that your website operates. It operates like every other website they've seen. Now, this doesn't mean you always have to stay within the mold for the rest of your life and never do something new and creative. But patterns are usually formed and established because they're accepted as good, right? You have, on the opposite side of things, you have things called dark patterns. These are bad patterns. These are yucky patterns that people try to do to take advantage of you, manipulate you, lock you into subscription, make you pay when you shouldn't. These are dark patterns, right? Okay, those are bad, but the majority of patterns are good, and they're good because they've been accepted as good over the years, right? And so here's a pattern in general web design. Use the length of the page to lay out sections of content that are pertinent. The most important content usually rises to the top, and the less important content goes to the bottom. If it's not important, it doesn't belong there. But we use the length of the page to our advantage. We don't have to keep everything within this top kind of above the fold box and swap items in and out of it, right? It's not a standardized pattern, and that can be dangerous for you, okay? But I will appreciate the work that you've done on it and move on. Last one, Harish P has done a little bit of this is for an Adobe Creative Challenge. I remember this one. This one was with Howard Pinsky, the man, the Adobe XD homie. You did this really fun kind of like interface. Love this kind of a dashboard. Dashboards are a design style and way of creating things all of their own, right? Let's take a look at it. Love the cutout like navigation. That's fun. It's fun to watch that kind of animate and stuff like that. I would say just watch the drop shadows a little bit here. Like, I don't think we need a drop shadow. Usually drop shadows are there to add clarity, bring some contrast, and maybe give a little bit of dimensionality. The bright pink on the white is already doing that. There's contrast, right? It's very clear. You didn't need to pop out the drop shadow, right? Also, drop shadows on half-filled elements or shapes, never a good idea. Never a good idea. But we can get even more nitty-gritty. They have a little bit more space. We need some breathing room, in there. That's the dumbest breathing room sound effect I've ever made in my life. If you appreciated the dumb sound effect, maybe, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification icon when you know I do more dumb stuff like this, more dumb sound effects just like that. I just think in general, there's just a little bit more respect to white space that needs to be done here. I think it's fun, I wouldn't do a chart that the background is the bright color, right? What's the most important thing on this page? What's the first thing you look at? It's probably the top left, right? Because it's packed with color. It's this, and then I'm looking at this big navigation thing here. And then my mind flits around to all the pink, where I'm like, oh, pink jacket, pink button, pink thing. Oh, big pink thing. I guess I should look here, right? So it becomes a priority thing. So you need to declare what's priority, what's primary, secondary, tertiary on the page. These are standard web design, web application design kind of principles or basics, right? What is most important here? What do I want the user to look at? In the dashboard scenario, most things are kind of important. Like usually when we aggregate content, we're saying all of it's kind of important, right? Okay, and if all of it's kind of important, then we need to give even weight to everything. But right now, the number of burritos eaten is the most important thing to me. That's burritos eaten. And then this navigation, okay? Usually we have like juxtaposition of like maybe a darker nav with a lighter interface or vice versa, because we don't want the navigation to hide. We don't want it to sink into the experience, right? But slighter contrast could be okay. I know this is a challenge. You probably followed along with Pinsky. That's okay. And he did it for good reasons. It's a beautiful interface, but I just think, a little bit more work on some of that white space and the usage of color. I can't tell you how much that white space and usage of color is important. It's so important. Let's do a little bit more question and answer, and then we'll probably be done for the day. Ashley Curtin says, are you talking about any sites? I don't know what you mean, Ashley. I would love to know what you mean, but I don't. Okay. So, let's see. Let's jump in. Ishkan says, if I redesign a website and put it on my portfolio, will there be any legal issues for the images? No. There's one of two ways that you're talking about this. Or option number one, you've worked for a client and you've done the work. If you've done that, hopefully in your portfolio, it says, I have the right to display these on my portfolio. Or in your contract, it says, I have the right to display these in my portfolio. If it's just a piece of concept work and you're doing it for, like, let's say you redesign the Nike website or something, you don't have to worry about that as long as you give credit. This is a Nike concept redesign. Then you are just experimenting and using your creativity. That's fine. If you tried to then go out and sell that, right, you might run into a little bit of an issue. Okay, so you can use assets for your own personal use. Your portfolio displaying them is personal. You shouldn't have legal issues there. Okay, is 2 case studies enough for a beginner level job? Let me rephrase that. Is it enough for me to start applying for jobs if I only have 2 case studies? Sure. Like I said, apply before you're ready. Apply before you think you're ready. And you'll either win the job or you'll learn from not getting the job. So absolutely. Okay. Esther White says, what on earth is a full stack designer? There's a full stack developer, even full stack engineer, but designer, you design the back end? I don't get it. Jesse, are you making stuff up? Okay. What is a full stack engineer? A full stack engineer is somebody who has collected a stack of skills and brought them all together. So if you are a full stack engineer or developer, you probably do back end and some front end. You can handle the whole stack. What's in your stack? Maybe you are a PHP or Ruby on Rails developer, Laravel, and you know Vue.js or React, as well as HTML and CSS. You're a full stack developer. Well, I'm a full stack designer, right? So what that means is I have a stack of skills that I stacked on top of each other that include anywhere from branding to web design to front-end development to UI and UX design and digital product design. So with this stack of skills that I have, I stack them on top of each other and I say, what do you need? Because I can do a little bit of branding work for you. Then I can make the landing page website for you. Then I can build the interface for your iOS and Android application. Do you need a web application? I can do that too. I can code them out. I can hand roll it for you if you'd like, or I can use something like Webflow. So I have a stack of skills. That's all it means. I have a large stack of skills that I've gained over the years, and I call myself what I want. That's the thing. I didn't make it up. I don't think. I think it's a fair analysis. Okay. So, of what I do, Esther says, cool. I like the sound of that. Thank you. You're so welcome. Thank you for the question. That's been great. Let's see. Any other questions? Because I do think we have to wrap it up soon. These are all great. Somebody says, how can I find out about handsomely paid freelance jobs as a UI designer? Oh, I know how you can. You can go over to my website at learn.jesseshowalter.com and you can go to courses right here and you can go down and you can sign up for my newsletter for the Becoming a Freelance UI and UX Designer course. In this course, I'm going to be teaching you about client interactions, project flows, mood boarding, where do you find clients, digital design specifications, prototyping, testing, all that stuff. I'm going to be talking about all of that. So it's part freelance course, part UI, UX design course. But I tell you, it's very unique being a freelance UI and UX designer. There's a lot of freelance web designers, freelance graphic designers, logo designers, but delivering and handing off and working with screens can be kind of its own nuanced kind of thing. So sign up for that and I'll let you know when the course comes out. That's how you can learn about finding handsomely rewarded freelance projects. I'd love to teach you about it. Okay. Excuse me. And I think that's kind of it for the day, folks. I've had such a blast. Hey, before you go, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Hit the little bell notification icon so you know when more live streams happen, when more videos are released. And also don't miss out. I'm running out of tickets. I have a limited number of tickets for next week. That's 7 days from today, November 26th. It's a Friday, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Designing and prototyping mobile applications, 3-hour workshop with me. If you want to learn more about it, go to learn.jesseshowalter.com/workshop. Sign up. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be doing, it's like one of these live streams on steroids, like up way above it. It's so interactive. You're going to walk away with so much knowledge for 3 hours that you should get your boss to pay for it and take off from work. So that's what I recommend. So check it out. Hopefully I will see you there. And that's it, folks. I hope you've had fun. I've had a blast on this live stream today. Hopefully I won't see you next Friday because I'll be doing my workshop, but I'd love to see you there. Seats are running out. I hope you're having an amazing week. I hope you have a great weekend. Rest, have fun, spend time with family, enjoy yourself, and then get back to work next week doing some amazing work. We will see you then. Take care.